What's something you found on a partner's phone that instantly changed the relationship forever, but they never knew you saw it? Story 1. His messenger chats with my mom. He jokes with my mom a lot and would always ask about me, what I was like as a kid, why am I so full of energy and how to take care of me. My mom had cancer and passed away last 2023, but their last messages to each other was him assuring her he'd take care of me the way she wants to. Story 2. Notes app with a list of stuff about me, favorite movies, flowers I'd like to get, shoe size, anything and everything. There were subdivisions like potential gifts to buy, what to do if I'm angry at him, stuff about my seasonal depression and what helps. It was almost 3 pages long and titled My Love, I Fell in Love More. It showed he's serious about me and willing to put in effort. Story 3. Proof that she was cheating. Took a video with my own phone of all the proof, then confronted her that I knew she was cheating but didn't tell her how. She confessed to cheating with an entirely different person than what I had proof of. Wild times ill. Story 4. A folder with pictures of me, but not pictures on dates or anything, mostly pictures of me making silly faces or sleeping or eating. It showed me that he values me being comfortable and just existing a lot more than being dolled up and perfect constantly. Story 5. Me and my fiancé have a really chill relationship. We respect that phones are private so we don't snoop but use each other's phones all the time for stuff like a torch etc. When we grab whatever's nearest or to Google a number, I was asking about something and he said look it up and passed his phone. I went to Google and it opened his last tab. He was looking at engagement rings. I clicked on another tab and searched on that instead to try to hide that I'd seen it. I never confessed I'd seen it but Christ, I knew pretty early on I wanted to spend my life with him and we'd had casual conversations but I'm a natural skeptic. To see that just really solidified in my little worried brain that he wasn't lying when he said he loved me. Story 6. I saw my wife keeps an app for reminders for everyone's birthday and significant dates of our relationship. She also has a bunch of photo montages she created of us together. I never question her love and devotion of me. Story 7. She left a Facebook Messenger conversation between her and her friend open on her computer. I'd use her computer when was at class, but it was her complaining how much time I spent at her apartment and that I was smothering her by always being around. I was surprised by this as she'd have a breakdown and accuse me of abandoning her when I'd leave to stay at my own place for a few days. Story 8. Not his phone, but my late husband's tablet. A year after he died, I was clearing his tablet of stuff, and saw he had a Twitter account. I was reading through his posts, and hit one that had me in tears for the rest of the day. He had responded to some thread about keeping women in their place, or some such garbage. Husband had posted a long rant about how being married for 35 years to a woman who never tired of learning, who never let things stop her, stayed interested in new things, was the best thing in his life, and that a smart, thinking woman kept his life interesting and exciting. I always knew he felt this way, but seeing him say this to a total internet stranger, in a forum he thought I would never see, was just kind of overwhelming for a few days. We were friends for 45 years, best friends for 43 years, married for 37 years, he died 12 years ago, and the hole in my life is just as big as the day he died. I'm not languishing, or yearning to follow him anytime soon, but I miss him tremendously. Story 9. Notes keeping track of how long since we last had a fight, when to pick the next one if we haven't had one by then, and potential things to pick a fight about. She didn't believe in a relationship going more than 4 weeks without a fight. Also a list of my passwords she'd managed to uncover. Story 10. After a year of remaining moderately stoic, I confided in her about some emotional torment I was experiencing and broke down and cried in front of her. I found texts to her friend a few hours later of how psycho and emotional I was. That was the last time I ever showed any feeling and broke up with her 6 months later. Story 11. Featuring women with my body type, I little pudgy with a set of heavy naturals. Frankly, it helped me let go of some insecurities and feel more comfortable during intimacy. I finally accepted that when he says he likes me the way I am, he means he likes me the way I am, and I'm here for that. He sent a photo of his on our bed sheets to another woman. Story 12. He handed me his phone when he was driving so I could text his mom for him. When I unlocked his phone it opened to a note that was just a list of everything I've ever mentioned that I liked and it was titled Gift Ideas. Like one of the items in the list was something I had seen in the window of a shop and mentioned that I thought it was cute, then we just kept walking. It made me feel so loved to know that he paid attention to every tiny thing. We're married now. Story 13. She told her colleagues and friends she divorced me because I was abusive. I wasn't, she didn't, she just wanted to play around in her circle without being judged by pretending she was single. No one ever asked me, I just got blocked. Story 14. I was using his phone when mine had died and I have a habit of closing apps. He had 1,000,000 open and it was driving me nuts and his Reddit was open. He doesn't post much, just follows and likes a bunch of working and bushcrafting subreddits, but the few posts he commented on were about me. It made my heart feel so happy I wanted to vomit. My favorite comment was about someone planning Valentine's Day for their partner, and he said something like, one Valentine's Day my wife surprised me with a giant blanket fort. She had her parents watch our daughter, bought all my favorite snacks and sushi for dinner, had Lord of the Rings ready to play and made a pillow nest on the floor inside the fort. Best wife ever. He doesn't have social media and isn't one for writing letters or cards, doesn't make a big show of his affections for me, so to see him gushing about me online was so I love that goose. Story 15. Been together since 17. Had a gut feeling to check his phone but he always was guarded when it come to it. He fell asleep one day with YouTube open, looked through his Instagram, and for the past 6 months he was in a group chat with 2 other people sending each other videos of using the restroom in diapers and exchanging feet pics. All for amounts of money that never exceeded 10. No idea how to even approach this. Story 16 Notes app with a title must read. It is a long list of things he should do when we have an argument, as if talking to himself, and it's always followed by a compliment about me. Like one is ask her for a couple minutes to compose and calm down because you might say bad things you don't mean out of frustration. She's very sweet, understanding, caring. Your baby doesn't deserve to cry. It might be bare minimum to others, but he has always been mentally struggling with dealing with negative emotions. Although we're adults, we're each other's firsts, so it's a constant learning, and he's improving a lot, but sometimes he beats himself up for it. Writing this just makes me cry, but I'm so proud of him for going beyond his limits and comfort zone. Story 17 A couple months into dating a girl, I was sitting in the passenger seat of her car waiting for her to come back from running inside her house when I saw a text come through on her phone that said, "Happy anniversary, baby, can't wait to see you tonight." So, yeah, that ended. Story 18 I saw her Instagram DM history to my best friends from school about a week before my birthday. I knew she was planning some sort of surprise for my 21st, but getting all of my childhood best friends back from when I was 5 years old up to secondary school, and getting them to come and surprise me by knocking on my door before we went downstairs together, and there was a full-on surprise party with everyone I knew at university was the icing on the cake. Yes, I knew 1 or 2 of them were coming, so it wasn't completely a surprise, but I wasn't ready for the scale of it. She got people Hood ID just mentioned in passing and Hood Shed never met before to come. Definitely a massive boost to an already very strong relationship. It showed me just how much she listens and just how much she cares. Story 19 Photos of her talking with her ex about the amazing they were having. Talking about how it's perfect because she will divorce me soon and take everything. She took nothing. Divorce that. I'm not bitter I got here too early to be nosy. Story 20 Text messages to a female friend essentially professing his love for her. He was a horrible person who did awful things to me, but those messages to her were a big punch to the gut until I found hard evidence of him actually physically cheating. Edit to add he is my ex. Broke up in 2019. Story 21 His mom texted him and a notification popped up on his TV. I had to see it after I saw she was talking about me, saying not so great things because she was mad I set a boundary around what amount of drinking I'm comfortable with my 4-year-old being around before we will choose to leave gatherings. She's an alcoholic and got really drunk and really mad when I set that boundary, but I saw that he really stuck up for me, and called her out on being wrong. He says some really caring things about me, and it really pushed me to see how much he's come to trust me, and how far he's come with his own drinking. He's grown to really value not hurting other people with indulging in your own vices. And it was really big in showing me how much he's changed and seriously how much therapy has been helping him. Story 22 Cheating. I noticed her phone ding, looked down as I was nearby and noticed it said something about a date she had been on. We had not been on any dates. It kinda tore apart the trust one had for her. Story 23 This was before phones, but my girlfriend at the time had her email left open on her desktop, saw an email to her best friend about me while she was in shower, didn't mean to click on. I tried really hard not to be nosy, but I saw my name so I read the email as I was really insecure due to past trauma. I'm glad my instinct to check was right. Some of friends had warned me this girl was too pretty for me coming from a place of genuine concern. What I read shocked me. This girl, now my ex-girlfriend, was gushing to her friend about how she felt in love for the first time blah blah blah. She went on and on how I was perfect for her and she had never felt so safe and understood and I was the one. But she said I lacked confidence. I knew she had dated a model before dating slightly above average me, but she was going to deal with that fear. She expounded onto her friend. Long story short, she's my ex-fiancée and now wife of 21 years. Never told her I saw that email. But man, that and her actions have made me the most confident husband and happy person. Story 24 Not one for going through my partner's phone. The one time when we were getting back together she asked to see my phone which I gave her. When I asked to see hers she got really defensive and refused to give it to me. We didn't get back together in the end. Story 25 The amount of in his files, hours and hours of paid for specific types of videos. Meanwhile we barely had. I loved him so much, but I never thought of him the same when I learned that he was attracted to something I would never be. Story 26 My ex shared pics of my in a group chat with her friends. There were also other dicks in there. I'm assuming they're boyfriends. I never said anything but I slowly stopped making time for her and she eventually broke up with me after she caught me avoiding her. Story 27 I really try hard to respect my girlfriend's privacy, but I have supervision and read whole paragraphs in like one glance. One time I glanced over and happened to see her telling one of her best friends how much she loved being with me and how safe and happy she felt. A decade of horrible relationships still gives me the scaries sometimes, but I feel like the luckiest girl in the world. Story 28 Multiple texts to his brother stating he was debating breaking up with me. At different times throughout the past year, I had no inkling he was feeling that way, instantly lost faith in the relationship, broke up shortly after. Story 29 LMAO In high school I had a boyfriend who I suspected was cheating on me. Turns out, he did try to cheat on me and got rejected LMAO. Honestly that hurt my ego way more than if he had just cheated, especially at 15. Like not only am I dating I'm dating one that nobody wants. Story 30 Way back into the 70s I found a letter she had written about me to her older sister. It was so flattering, tall, handsome, smart, funny, and a good kisser with good equipment. Made me feel really good when she gave her approval and lil sister and I became an item. Still knocking boots 50 years later. Story 31. I read the emails back and forth between my ex-husband and the woman he ruined our marriage with, where they were planning the road trip romantic getaway after their business trip. Our son graduates in a month and I never have to speak to you again. My husband changed his phone password to my name within 3 months of us dating. He didn't tell me he had. I only realized one day when I needed to unlock his phone and asked. I had trust issues going into our relationship, so it was a shock that someone would use my name for anything. We've now been together for 7 years, and am still his password. Story 32. Her flirting with a friend of hers. When I say flirting, that's putting it mildly. It was a side of her I've never seen. She was full on, flat out begging him to FCK her and enticing him with just about every tool in a woman's arsenal. If she spoke like that to me, I'd have put a ring on her finger and locked that down in 30 minutes, but no. She likes everyone but me, I guess. Story 33. Not me but my sister-in-law, said her then boyfriend now husband, handed her his phone to check the weather or an order status or something menial like that. Said when he handed it to her he accidentally left it open in his investing app, and she didn't poke around too much but saw the obvious 3 to 4 million in his account. At about 35 years old, and that was just one app, probably not his entire portfolio. She never mentioned it but said a month or two later as things got more serious between them he said, hey, we need to have a talk, and she was worried. But said, okay, what is it? And he said, I'm privately wealthy, and I want to marry you, so if we in fact continue this relationship, you probably don't ever have to worry about money. Fast forward a few years, they are married, have a kid. My sister-in-law makes 6 figures working in finance. He quit his job but opened a business doing custom working, which was his hobby prior to quitting his job. Good for him, so everyone stays busy. He is a very cool guy, grounded, just has a lot of money. My wife's side of the family is quite successful. And this post makes me realize that I'm probably the lowest income earner of any of her siblings or her siblings' spouses. She has 4 siblings, sad for me, haha. Story 34. We had been together for almost 2 years. We were on vacation with my parents, and my phone had died. So I asked to borrow his to look something up online that my mom had been wanting. Right as his phone leaves his hands, a message pops up from my love in Arabic. He knew I was bilingual, but I guess he forgot that Arabic is one of the 6 languages I speak. The messages were a mix of English and Arabic, and the moment I saw the message, I opened the text thread and my heart dropped to my stomach. The messages went back almost the entire time we were together. I marked the message as unread and got out of the app. I was so enraged. I remember wishing he had just slept with her instead because seeing those messages burned so bad. I never saw him the same way again. And it took me years to get over him. We ended things about a month later, and he had to explain to his mother why we weren't together. She messaged me later and apologized. For my stupid son who can't seem to get it together, I ended up telling her what I saw, and she promised she'd never mention it, but she knew who the girl was and hates her to this day even though they didn't end up together. His parents still send me happy holiday messages now 10 years later. Edit. She also knew he had a girlfriend. Story 35. A few years ago, I was adding some items to the Notes app grocery list on my wife's phone. The app opened to the most recent list, which was a copy of her wedding vows with the promises she made to me, things like supporting my dreams, being my partner in crazy adventures. Besides, each one was a list of ideas to match, including some things we had done recently. We were going through a rough patch at the time, and seeing that list doubled my resolve to work through it. Story 36. I saw a message to his friend confessing that he was saving up money to be able to leave me and move out of our apartment together, before he would let me know he wanted to break up with me. Story 37. After she deleted every female from my phone while I slept despite her being the one who cheated. Things were great for a month, then curiosity got the best of me and I found out that she still had him on Snapchat saved under a woman's name. It was like the ending of a soap opera, no anger or yelling. Just acceptance as I handed her phone back to her. All the counseling that I needed because males have fragile egos and I needed to work past my issues. Meanwhile, I discovered what the term gaslighting means with a first-hand demonstration. Story 38. Went through his 27M at the time texts and found out that he had been in a secret relationship with our HS biology teacher for almost a decade. We had only been together for 2 of those years, but I read those texts and he instantly became a stranger in my mind. We lasted about 3 more months before my distrust evolved into cyclical toxicity and we ended it. Story 39. A picture of them with a coworker of the opposite gender, hugging closely. The picture was sent in a group chat. Folks were commenting about how great they looked together, what a cute couple, etc. Not a comment from my ex about me or our relationship. We're together for 5 years. Story 40. I found a hidden folder in his phone with screenshots of other girls' Instagram stories. Girls we both knew, some were mutual friends. None of it was overtly, but the captions he added to the pics were gross, like she doesn't even know what ID do to her kind of stuff. It felt violating. Not because he cheated, but because I saw a side of him that made my skin crawl, objectifying women he smiled at in real life, including people I cared about, was friends with and that he interacted with on the daily. I never said a word, just quietly started planning my exit, told my friends. Have not seen him since. He deleted socials. No idea what happened to him. Story 41. I had a sneaking suspicion after we started becoming less intimate. I found out that my ex was messaging hundreds of other women flirty things and some full-on requests on social media as early as September. We started dating in August, so a month into our relationship. Seeing those messages sent me into a full-blown panic attack to where I had to go to the ER because my heart rate was through the roof. I loved him more than anything. I eventually learned he was also cheating on me with prostitutes as well. Did a number on my self-esteem, fundamentally changed me as a person and my perception of love and relationships. Story 42. My ex told me not worry about these girlfriends of his in our friend group. The thing is, these women were overly friendly to me, like the super nice, but you can tell it wasn't genuine when talking to me. My intuition is usually right, but I ignored it until one day I had to use his computer, and I looked through this weird folder with a suspicious name, and in the folder were hundreds of nudes and videos of them together, or just the women he told me not to worry about, and I was tripping he didn't know I saw that. I just packed my bags and left, and never went back and blocked him. Story 43 posted this before, but he'll tell the story again. Was dating a girl many years ago. We were in love. At least I was. Now, I'm not one to snoop at all, but we were making out and she got up to go to the bathroom. For a couple months I had this odd feeling that she was growing distant. She left her phone right in my line of sight. As she was using the restroom, she got a text that said, "Are you done with him yet? When are you coming over?" Broke my heart. Anyways, we banged something special and I left and never talked to her again. It's been at least 15 years. From what I gathered, she ended up dating that guy for a couple years. She eventually married a friend that was always hanging around when we were dating. We have mutual friends all these years later, and from what I gather she has a beautiful family and is happy. I have a beautiful family as well and am very happy. Crazy how life works out. Story 44. I saw a message to her sister saying that I was the most important person in her life and had saved her from a life of addiction and abuse. When I saw the message, we had only been dating about 4 months, and it's now been 21 years since I saw that message, and I've never let her go and I never will. Story 45. Relationship was already going downhill with my ex, but saw she had left her phone open to a conversation with a fellow student. She was going back to school. She was basically flat broke. I was paying for everything in terms of living expenses, etc. She didn't like my parents, who are incredibly generous people. So my dad was visiting and invited us out for dinner. Anyway, text to the other girl was just complaining about my relationship with my parents and how we're really close, and she doesn't really want to see my dad, but she's more than happy to use his money for dinner, etc. I kinda already knew she resented my parents for having money when her family really didn't, but never really knew the extent and how she'd talk about it to others. We broke up about 2 months later. Story 46. I didn't find anything in a partner's phone, but I did find evidence in my phone that my partner had been deleting the contacts and text conversations I had with basically anybody who happened to have a feminine name. It's not like I was talking to women she was specifically suspicious of. She was just wildly possessive and didn't want me to speak to any other women. I first noticed it when she deleted my cousin as a contact. That same partner would do weird like stalk the social media profiles and histories of any women I was friends with online or in real life, and then try to build cases against them to me about why I shouldn't be associated with them by sending me screenshots of posts they'd made 10 years earlier or whatever that she didn't agree with. Anyway, our relationship didn't last very long. Story 47. A previous partner and I used shared notes to communicate dinner plans, shopping lists, upcoming dates, effectively anything that we didn't want lost in the sea of texts we sent throughout the day. About a year into our relationship, she shared a note that read something to the effect of, "I keep telling myself I love him, but lately I'm not sure if I really even want him. I think I'm just confused," with my name written all over it. I never mentioned I saw it, and it vanished from our shared notes later that day. To this day I don't know if it was unintentional, or if she wanted me to take a hint. We were together another 4 months before we called it quits because she'd found somebody else. I don't see relationships as wasted time, but am a lot more cautious of the words love and confused in the same paragraph now. Story 48. Never went through a partner's phone, but one time, an ex let me read his emails to provide context to how crazy and mean his ex-wife was to him. He wanted me to read them. I found several exchanges between him and a few of his exes. Turns out he played victim in every disagreement. Called them and then wondered why they didn't want to ever see him again. He contacted one of his ex's family members after she blocked him, trying to reach out to her. Absolutely insane. He volunteered that to me. It didn't take long for him to do the same, manipulative to me, or perhaps I was more aware of his tactics. Story 49. So I struggle with a lot of things physically and mentally, which is important in regard to what I found. There was one day my fiancé had asked me to look for something in their notes app. I noticed one that was titled Help Them, and I let my curiosity get the better of me. I absolutely fell in love with what I found. Inside of it was my fully detailed care plan that my psych team had given them for when I have my extremely bad days. It had everything from what foods I consider safe to how to get my service dog to perform tasks with them, directing her instead of me, to even which meds treatments are going to work during what. In the past my parents have been the only ones to take my care plan seriously. I've never told my fiancé to this day that I saw that, and this was nearly 2 years ago that I saw it, but since then it just solidified for me and my family that I'm 100 marrying the right person. Story 50. Thanks for letting me see you the other day. You know just how to make me feel better. If I had seen our future together I never would have married him. Read those words once and I still can't unsee them. Story 51. He actually showed this to me, no snooping or anything involved. It was a pros cons list of dating me. The pros were all very short and simple, cute, kind, great, fun, both love books, etc. The cons list was very in-depth. Her jokes are hard to understand. When in with her she's the only one in the world, but when I'm away from her I want to date other people. She doesn't make as much money as I want in a partner. She is sometimes awkward around my friends and they don't know what to do with her. I'm embarrassed of her when she makes jokes my friends don't get, etc. I thanked him for showing me the list and asked what he wanted to do about it. He said nothing. I just thought you should see it. I said okay, and started keeping a small calendar to see how long it would take him to break up with me. 57 days. Story 52. On and off FW situationship that always claimed he wanted more but didn't have the time to give me the relationship I deserve. I had was at his place and we were having another fight and he looked me dead in the eye to tell me he loved me and I already knew I didn't believe it, but I was still stupid enough to sleep over and his phone lit up while he was asleep. His notifications didn't give details of who, but it did show what, which was dating site responses. I wasn't shocked, I wasn't upset, I was nothing, which told me it would be okay to just move TF on, and I finally did. Story 53. I went through my partner's phone after he passed away from cancer last year. I had to find contact numbers for a few friends not on the funeral list we made. In his notes app, I found phrases he used in his letters to me, as we often wrote to each other when he was in hospital and visiting times were short. English was not his first language, and I hadn't realized how hard he had practiced in order to say what he wanted to say. I sent myself a copy of those notes and look at them often. Story 54. I was dating a guy that I really liked, enough that I had initially overlooked some red flags. We were spending the night together, and he fell asleep super early. His phone kept buzzing and I saw a familiar name on the screen, his coworker he had mentioned a few times. It was way too early in the relationship for me to be looking through his phone, but it was right there and I couldn't stop myself. So much cringe flirting and pathetic pickup attempts at this 17-year-old girl. And I got so sleeved out I just left. He was in his 30s, never saw him again. Story 55. One night my ex fell asleep on top of me while we were on the couch but had handed me his phone beforehand and told me to go through it if I wanted. He did it literally because he knew I was bored. I just flipped through his photos for a while, looking at cute photos of his friends' high school stuff and some old ones from when we met. I do this thing where when I have a phone in my hand that isn't mine, search up my name in iMessages to see what comes up. This man had nothing but good things about me. Messages to his stepmom literally just about how pretty I am. Messages to his cousin brother about how nice and funny I am. Messages to his best friends just bashing on how much fun we were having. I also had opened up with the intention to send my BSF a pic of me since she didn't have Snap, and I saw that he genuinely hadn't talked to any girls other than his mom, my two best friends, and a secret GC they had together called My Name Girlies, and his cousin for months. I was his pinned on Insta, Snap, and iMessage. We're getting back together soon once our lives are a lit less hectic and we can really focus on our relationship. Story 56. After strong suspicion that she was cheating, I checked her phone when she was sleeping. I found nudes in her trash folder. It was the confirmation I needed, but I never told her I checked her phone. Instead I presented all the other evidence that led me to that conclusion and she started crying. She never actually admitted it, but from there she didn't press back on the split. She knew. Story 57. We broke up. A week later a friend of mine sent me screenshots of chats with her and she said we broke up a few weeks before the actual breakup and that I was controlling and violent. Anyone who knew me knew it was BS, thankfully. Story 58. My girlfriend from my early 20s that I lived with was just not very. Well, I had my suspicions that she was in love with her friend from high school. They hooked up a few times before we met, but he ran off to the Navy. Anyhow, one night I got suspicious and looked in her phone. There's a photo of her in lingerie masturbating. Now she would never send anything like this to me. She was very shy and quiet. Her reasoning was I was going to send it to you but got bashful and didn't. Well, we broke up. She married the guy I knew she was in love with. They've been married since. Story 59. We had a horrible life and I had to beg at times for intimacy. Found a text to a friend on his iPad that talked about him going to a strip club all night within his face and smelling like cheap. Realized I had no idea who this person was. No longer together. Story 60. When I was around 18 or 19 I went with my then boyfriend to the Apple store to get him a new phone. We had been together around 4 or 5 months at this point. While at the Apple store, the tech helping us was having trouble moving over my boyfriend's data from his old phone to his new phone. The estimated time was literally around 6 or so hours, and the tech asked if he had a lot of pictures. My ex told them he had around 16,000 pictures. He opened the app and I was standing at an angle behind him, and I don't think he saw I could see, but out of those 16,000 pictures at least 11,000 of them was nudes of random girls. His addiction eventually ruined our relationship. Story 61. I don't go through anyone's phone because I'm not trying to get hurt, but my ex had me helping him with a work-related assessment once and I needed to Google something. Immediately popped up, first tab, Big MILF. It didn't change much, just proved that he was a liar when he said he didn't watch. I didn't care that he watched, but I did struggle with him only ever wanting once or twice a month. Just to find out he probably watched lots of, so I assumed his lack of desire for was possibly due to watching too much. He drank too much. Or maybe it's because I'm not a big bleach blonde MILF. I found her Reddit profile where she said my mom is an awful cook. Story 62. I'm usually not a fan of snooping but this time couldn't help myself. I was on a trip with my girlfriend and we were using her phone to map us to our first destination and to listen to a playlist she created. She left her phone in the car to go pee while I filled up the car with gas. I caught a text from her friend saying just go have a drink with him, trust me. He's the type of man you really should be with. I was stunned. Her friend was trying to set her up with someone while we were in a relationship. This is someone that we had gotten pretty close to, had over for holidays, all that. I thought her and I had a good relationship. Turns out she was never a fan of me and had been trying to get my girlfriend to break up with me for over a year at that point. I read the entire conversation and my girlfriend admitted that I'm not really her type and that she wished I was more traditional and more masculine. Her previous boyfriends were ex-military, cops, firemen, athletes, you get the picture, but that she wouldn't change a thing about me and loved me for who I am. I had mixed feelings about it and brought it up after the trip. She came clean and said she was never unfaithful but also admitted she wished I was more like the men she previously dated. We broke up amicably that night. We reconnected a few years later. She has since cut that friend out of her life and we've both grown a lot as people. We just decided to start dating exclusively again a few days ago. Life is wild sometimes.